welcome to Save Our Snails. Today we are going to be looking at YouTube videos that come up when we search on snails.
And they'll probably all be really weird.
Probably. I am here with my co-owner Isobel. No, she doesn't own me. The co-owner of Save Our Snails. And let's watch the first video. Why snails kill 200,000 people every year. The second deadliest animal. And I think that the nuclear symbol there is for clickbait. But let's just watch it, I guess.
Forms and surveys like this get responses like that.
Most people probably wouldn't believe if they heard that snails kill around 200,000 people every year, making them the second deadliest animal on the planet. But it is true.
I mean, honestly, I probably wouldn't either.
I mean, I'd like to mention quickly that that is not what a snail looks like close up. Hey, let's just keep going.
One thing that many people are aware of is that mosquitoes are the deadliest animals. That is of course because they transmit the deadly single-cell parasite which causes malaria. It is often said that malaria has killed half of all people who have ever lived, and while this is probably no longer true today, it was most likely true for most of mankind's history. Even today there are an estimated 200 million new malaria cases every year and between 300,000 and 1 million malaria-related deaths.
I don't know why we're talking about malaria now.
This means malaria is still the most socio-economically devastating parasitic disease. What has this to do with snails? Well, similar
He read my mind. What has this got to do with snails?
to mosquitoes, snails also transmit a deadly parasite. A parasitic flatworm which causes schistosomiasis, which is the second most deadly parasitic disease in the world. This is, however, far less known, which is probably why you are here. So what exactly is schistosomiasis? The disease is the result of an infection with what is commonly called blood flukes. These are waterbound parasites that you can find in all kinds of freshwater habitats, like lakes, swamps and rivers, rice fields, puddles or roadside ditches. Many parasites need to go through complex life cycles with morphological distinct generations and one or more intermediate hosts before they can infect their final host, and these worms are no exception. They begin their life as tiny larvae floating in the water. Almost immediately after hatching, they start actively looking for the intermediate.
I noticed that they have faces. I wonder how realistic that is.
Host, freshwater snails, which
extraordinarily realistic.
It was likely because they wanted the animation to look cooler and maybe more appealing to younger children.
they need to develop
I have
further.
no idea why they
Once-
would want it to be more appealing to younger children, though.
So that they watched the video. Anyway, let's keep going.
They find one, they penetrate the soft body of the snail and begin to reproduce asexually. They do this multiple times during the 1 to 2 months inside the snails, and as a result their numbers quickly grow exponentially. A process that started with a single larva has now produced thousands of offspring.
Larvae, not lava.
These so-called fork-tailed Zakia then break out of the snail into the water and start looking for their final host, for which they are now specifically adapted for. They have around 48 hours to do so before they die. There are dozens of different species of blood flukes, each specialized on a specific set of vertebrate hosts. Birds, mammals and reptiles all fall victim to these parasites, and of course humans. There are 5 species that are responsible for the major forms of human schistosomiasis. Once the Zakia comes into contact with its host, the larva penetrates the skin, sheds its tail and transforms into the juvenile form. It then starts to bore through the flesh until it reaches the blood vessels. Here it will spend the next couple of weeks migrating through the circulatory system via the heart into the liver, at which point it will have matured into an adult male or female worm, around 1 to 2 centimeters in length. Next, the worms begin to join together in pairs to reproduce, this time sexually. For that, the more slender female is held permanently in a groove in front of the male's body. The two worms usually remain joined together like this for life, although it can happen that a female divorces a male to look for a more genetically distinct mate.
Hey, I think we kind of get it. Snails carry a parasite, and that's why they're deadly. We don't need to watch anything more of that video. Wow, this sounds riveting. Let's watch Snails for Kids now.
My job is to make college
Grammarly
easier because students,
by the way, I'm not hating on Grammarly. Grammarly is actually pretty good. I use it.
have a lot on them.
Welcome to my treehouse. Today we're having a snail adventure.
Welcome to my treehouse. Today we are having a snail adventure.
Snails are one of the easiest mini beasts to spot. You can find them almost everywhere, especially when it's been raining. And they're quite big for a mini beast. Have a look
You
at
do
these.
realize that we can't hear this audio though, Zakia?
You can't hear it?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. We are back after some minor inconveniences. Now, let's keep going.
Snails have soft, slimy bodies which are protected by a shell. The snail's body is actually one big foot, and it moves along by rippling its muscles. It makes a slimy track to slide along. If a snail wants to hide away, it can tuck its whole body into its shell. A snail has 4 tentacles. Can you see them popping out?
Tentacles?
Tentacles, it's not an octopus. This is a snail. Antenna and sensors. 2 antennae, which are the long ones, which is also how they see. And then they have these sensors that are the lower ones.
The short 2 are for feeling, tasting, and smelling.
Okay, we're back. We had some other problems. Let's keep going.
The longer 2 have eyes on the end of them. But snails actually can't see very well. They just see light and dark. The shell is really clever. As the snail grows, the shell grows too. So when a baby snail hatches, it has a tiny little shell. Look, this baby is a teeny tiny version of an adult snail.
So, I'd just like to quickly mention, that's not entirely true, because snails do sometimes shed their shells if it's not growing at the correct rate. So the snails don't always grow. The shells don't always grow with the snail.
Its shell is very soft and fragile when it's small, so you have to be really careful if you pick them up. It takes about 2 years for a snail to grow to be an adult. I'm sure you've got a snail living near you. Maybe it's a baby, maybe it's an adult.
Snail shells are their homes. They always carry them around on their backs. Imagine if you carried your home around with you all the time. Phew. Phew.
It looks like it's wearing a suit of armour, doesn't it?
Hey, the shell is not the snail's home. Snails tend to live in plants. The shell's kind of just like a place for it to hide.
Hello.
Okay, I think we're gonna wrap up now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, comment on the video and we'll make a part 2. Now, thank you for watching.
Goodbye.